e4, e5, knight c3. That's the Vienna game. Now, if black plays knight f6, white continues f4. This is the key idea. White wants to play an improved king's gambit. In a normal king's gambit, black typically captures with e takes f4. But now, white has a very strong move, e5, and look, all those squares are controlled by white. Black has no good square for the knight and is forced to retreat. Knight g8. Now the game continues, knight f3, d6, d4, d takes e5, bishop c4. Instead of recapturing the pawn, white keeps developing. Now if black ignores development and gets greedy, e takes d4, then castle short. A full piece sacrifice. If black takes the bait, d takes c3, bishop takes f7, check. And you know the trick, if black takes the bishop, then white takes the queen on d8. So, after king to e7, white plays rook e1 check, bishop e6, rook takes e6 check, king takes f7, and finally queen takes d8, and white is completely winning. But maybe black doesn't fall for the trap and instead delays the pawn capture. e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, f4, d6. Black declines the gambit. Now white continues knight f3, and if now black takes, he takes f4, white immediately attacks the f4 pawn with d4, forcing black to defend. Knight h5, but now white plays knight d5, again increasing the pressure. Black defends with g5, but white keeps pushing. Knight takes g5, queen takes g5, and now white plays queen takes h5. After queen takes h5, knight f6 checks, king d8, knight takes h5, white is about to recapture on f4 with a technically winning position. There's another nice one I want to show you. Another possible approach for black is after f4, d6, knight f3, bishop g4. This looks natural, but here comes a trap. Bishop c4, knight c6, d3, knight d4, castle short, bishop e7, f takes e5, d takes e5, and now white sacrifices a bishop. Bishop takes f7 check, king takes, and knight takes e5 with a double attack on the king and on g4. Now king g8, knight takes g4, knight takes g4, queen takes g4, and here black would love to take on c2, but unfortunately if they take on c2 it's queen e6 checkmate. In all those games, black tried to play reasonable moves, either accepting or declining the pawn offer, and yet they were crushed, simply crushed. If you want to understand exactly what went wrong for black, I break it all down in my full lesson. Welcome to this introduction to the Vienna game. I'm Simon and I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. So, why is the Vienna a great investment to your opening repertoire? First, you get to play it very often. After e4, 40% of the time according to the Lichess database, black answers with e5, which means you can get into the Vienna very frequently in your games compared to other openings. For instance, if you play the Scotch game, you have to count on black to play knight c6 before, which they do only 63% of the time, which means that all in all, you'll be able to play the Scotch only 25% of your games with white, whereas the Vienna you can play it 40% of your games with white. Second reason, it is a very sound opening. You're never worse after knight c3, so it's a very solid and sound choice. Third reason, it is rare and underprepared. Consider that white is playing the Vienna game only 7% of the time after e4, e5. So it's clear that your opponent playing with the black pieces won't know much about this, and probably you can out-prepare him and get a better position. So, to sum up, it is sound, you get to play it in 40% of your games, and your opponent will likely know a lot less than you. Sounds like the perfect opening, right? What is the plan of the Vienna? You want to play f4 to attack e5. Exactly like a King's Gambit, right? But the problem of the King's Gambit is that if you play it immediately, black has too many good options. There is d5 immediately, there is e takes f4, after which there is g5, there is d5, there is d6, many possible moves for black. So that's why in the Vienna you play knight c3 before playing f4. You still want to play f4, but you want black to commit to knight f6 first. Because after knight f6, black no longer has queen h4 check, that's a first advantage, and also as soon as they capture on f4, you've got this e5 push attacking that knight. So if I have to sum it up In one word, with the Vienna game, you want to play an improved King's Gambit. Now, let me show you the dream setup in the Vienna, the one you want to achieve with white. Disclaimer, that won't necessarily be the best move order, but this is definitely what you're aiming for with white. e4, e5, knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, d6, f4, bishop e7. Note that I'm making slightly passive moves for black. We continue, knight f3, castle short, rook e8, h3, bishop d7, a4, a6, and now white has a very powerful position with multiple attacking ideas. You've got f5, you've got knight g5 hitting f7, you've got f takes e5 opening the center. Many possibilities and not many counterplay for black. This is exactly the type of position you want as white in the Vienna game. Of course, black won't let you do this easily, but at least you know what you're aiming for. If you want to master this opening, go to pawnbreak.com, where you find my full course covering all key variations, traps, tactical ideas, and how to handle the toughest responses from black. And the best part, it's only $3 a month. So check the description and I'll see you there. Now, actually after knight c3, knight f6, f4, there is a critical move for black, d5. This is probably the most common way for black to challenge this opening. And now things get interesting. I will show you 5 quick games covering all the main lines, and you'll see by yourself that there is a lot of fun to get in the Vienna. First game, knight c3, knight f6, f4, d5, f takes e5, knight takes e4, knight f3. Very good move. Now, why not bishop g4 for black? But then white plays queen e2, attacking the knight twice. Black might think that, knight c6 is fine, because after knight takes e4 I have knight d4 attacking the queen and the knight on f3, and the knight is pinned, and it looks like black is okay, or maybe even winning material. But here comes queen d3, and if black plays bishop takes f3, then you've got knight g3, and now black has 2 pieces attacked, and black only gets to choose which one he can save. Now, another game where black chooses the wrong path. In this position, f takes e5, knight takes e4, knight f3. This time, black plays bishop c5, an excellent move. Now white plays queen e2, and black might go for knight f2, which looks very good, attacking this rook on h1. But now white has the brilliant d4, and knight takes h1, d takes e5, and this knight is going to get captured, and white wins. But however, white can also get crushed very quickly if they're not careful enough. In this game, black plays queen f3, which is another very strong idea. After knight takes c3, b takes c3, c5, d4, c takes d4, white might think, okay, I take back on d4. What could go wrong? Well, black strikes back with queen h4, check, attacking the king and d4, but then white plays queen f2, thinking everything is covered, but now black has bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop takes d2, and of course, if white captures the bishop on d2, then the queen is lost and it's game over. Okay, let's continue with a very deep trap set by white, again in this queen f3 line. This time, black plays knight c6. White responds with bishop b5, and then after knight takes c3, d takes c3, black plays queen h4 check, g3, queen e4 check. And here white has a tricky move, bishop e3. And now, of course, black can exchange queens. This is perfectly fine, but there's an amazing idea from white. If black takes on c2, white wants to sacrifice all the queenside pieces. So queen takes c2, knight e2, queen takes b2, castle short, and suddenly white is attacking f7. If black greedily takes with queen takes b5, then you have queen takes f7, king d8, and here comes the final move. Not immediately bishop g5, but first knight d4. White attacks the queen and the defender of e7. If black takes with knight takes d4, then bishop g5 check, bishop e7, queen takes e7, checkmate. And finally, a last game where black gets a little too greedy as well. After queen f3, black can play f5, excellent move, and after d3, knight takes c3, b takes c3, d4, white plays queen g3, targeting g7 and freeing f3 for the knight. Now black plays d takes c3, but white has a powerful reply, bishop e2, which doesn't look like anything, right? But if black continues with knight c6, then white wins brutally with bishop h5 check, and if black plays g6, then bishop takes on g6, takes, queen takes on g6, king to d7, and now white plays e6 check. And no matter where the king goes, white has e7 check with a discovered attack. And if black takes the pawn, then there is bishop g5 check. White is completely winning here. In all those games, one side made a very serious mistake very early on. And you don't want to be that player, right? So in my lesson, we'll go through all those traps together. And I'll teach you how to play the Vienna game properly in all variations. That way, when a short game like this happens, you'll always be on the winning side. Check out my website. For just a few dollars, you can access my full course on the Vienna and become an expert. Now, black doesn't have to play the knight to f6 on move 2. Another strong way to fight against the Vienna is to develop the knight to c6 instead. The key idea is that now f4 is not really what white wants to play. Why? Because after e takes f4, there's the immediate threat of queen h4 again. White might try knight f3, but then there is g5, and suddenly this looks very much like a real king's gambit. And you might be fine with that, but this is no longer an improved king's gambit. This is a normal king's gambit, and maybe if you play the Vienna, that's not what you want to play. But that doesn't mean this knight to c6 line is dull or boring. Far from it. Let me show you a game that goes completely crazy. e4, e5, knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, bishop c5, f4, d6, knight f3. With the bishop on c5, this diagonal is slightly weakened for white, and black tries to take advantage of it with knight to g4, but this will backfire in a spectacular way. Knight to g5. Now the threat of queen h5 attacking h7, f7 is a huge problem for black. There are many possible lines here, but this particular game continues the following way. Castle short, f5, knight f2, queen h5, h6, knight takes f7, rook takes f7, queen takes f7 check, king h7, queen g6 check, king h8, bishop takes h6 check, and if black captures with g takes h6, then it's queen takes h6 checkmate finally. So this game shows that the Vienna can lead to sharp tactical battles, but wait, you haven't seen anything yet. In the so-called mirror variations, things can get completely out of control. So that's e4, e5, knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. Black is mirroring white's play. But here white has a very surprising move, queen to g4, and now black might try what looks like a strong move, queen f6, because it is attacking f2, which seems like a very strong threat. But white doesn't care at all. Knight d5, because queen takes f2, king d1, and look, there is nothing. There is nothing for black. All the squares, all the important squares are protected. And just to show you how crazy this can get, here's a possible line. King f8, knight h3, attacking the queen, h5, also attacking the queen, queen g5, queen d4, d3, knight g to e7, rook f1, and black tries to defend here with f6, but it's already over. Rook takes f6, check, g takes, queen takes, king e8, queen takes h8. And here in this position, white is completely winning again. In my full lesson on pawnbreak.com, I'm breaking down all these lines in details, showing you exactly what went wrong in those games. I'll also explain the strategic ideas for both sides when black chooses the knight c6 setup. And now let's look at another sharp line for white, one where black can also lose in 10 moves if they make a single mistake. It is e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, back to this move, and bishop c4. And now the critical test for black is knight takes e4. At first glance it might look like a stupid move, a blunder, but there is a very well-known idea, which is knight takes e4, d5. Black is forking white's pieces, and after bishop d3, d takes e4, b takes e4, black plans to play f5, then bishop d6, taking control of the position with the bishop pair, and it's actually black who is a little bit better here. But that's not the whole story. White has two ways to make this position completely crazy after knight takes e4. First possibility is to go for bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7, knight takes e4, knight c6, queen f3 check, king g8, and knight g5. And surprisingly, black is already completely helpless here. Queen e7, queen d5 check, queen e6, knight takes e6, of course, this is completely lost for black. And in my lesson, I'll explain exactly where black went wrong in that game. But white's most dangerous move after knight takes e4 is actually queen h5. This attacks f7 immediately, forcing black into a very difficult position. And right now there is only one reasonable response. This is knight d6, defending f7. The bishop is attacked, white retreats with bishop b3, and now if black plays knight c3, which looks normal, then white continues with knight b5. A very nice deflection of the defender of f7. Of course black cannot take, so g6, queen f3, f5, queen d5, queen e7 to defend f7, and now knight takes c7 check. And this line has a name, actually. This is the start of the Frankenstein-Dracula variation, a completely wide line that is probably much better for white though. In my lesson, I'll show you how to safely navigate this line with black while keeping control of the game. That's it for now. This was just a short introduction to the Vienna game. If you want to uncover all its secrets, go to pawnbreak.com, where you can access my full course starting at just $3 a month. So check the description for details, and I'll see you there.